Well, thank you, Dr. Indra, my colleagues, Professor Barbara Wheeler. Thank you. This is a fantastic opportunity to gather and bring together so many people to talk about the topic of music therapy and, most importantly, how it will manifest as we are at what I would call a very interesting kind of crossroads or juncture as to how does a field like music therapy, how does it localize within a particular culture, a community, and a nation, simply transferring from one discipline to another or one country to another. There's going to be challenges and problems. So I've been asked to talk a little bit from my perspective as an ethnomusicologist and an admirer of music therapy, but also I've also written a bit about medical ethnomusicology and looking at how culture plays a specific role when a discipline like music therapy begins to take root. So that's the theme of my topic today, and I'm going to read you a boring paper. Oh, this sounds like classroom speaking. The students in the back are like, oh no, boring paper. So we'll try and make it as interesting as possible. Today we find ourselves at a very exciting juncture, a critical meeting point at the crossroads of development for Malaysian music therapy. Gathered in this room are international scholars and professionals visiting us from places like the USA and Australia. Among us today are regionally based colleagues from the Philippines, Singapore, and Indonesia. And most importantly, there are people like yourselves who've come here as local members of Malaysian communities with a vested interest in learning about how you can strengthen your community through music therapy. Now, I believe there is strength in numbers, and momentum is building, and Malaysia's music therapy movement is growing. But there's much work to be done. As Prof. Barbara Wheeler pointed out, there are currently no universities offering recognized degree programs in music therapy. Malaysia's cutting-edge medical and healthcare industries have yet to fully embrace music therapists into the nation's healthcare system. As we discuss strategies towards overcoming these and many other obstacles, I'd like to highlight the power of the collective as a critical component in the current and future directions of Malaysian music therapy. First, I'll discuss collectivity versus individualism as an enduring geocultural aspect of the Southeast Asian region where we find ourselves today. Second, I'll demonstrate that the collective experience of a group can be extremely transformative in cultivating a sense of belief in the individual. And finally, I'll evaluate collectivity as one of the key musical structures of principal therapeutic ensembles, such as drum circles, gamelan, and vocal choirs that we're going to experience in our workshops and presentations throughout these 2 days. Despite compromise, sacrifice, and other shortcomings inherent in group dynamics and collectivism, the fact that we're all gathered in this room today speaks to the infectious power of our common interests to overcome adversity and achieve great things. In a previous paper on music therapy and medical ethnomusicology, I discussed collectivity and Southeast Asian sensibilities, which references a region and its values and ways of understanding. Sensibilities are defined as, quote, an understanding of or an ability to decide about what is good or valuable, especially in conjunction with artistic or social activities, end quote. In my discussion of collectivity today, I bring your attention to Southeast Asian sensibilities because developing music therapy in Malaysia requires dealing with the fact that the discipline was founded upon and primarily uses Western conceptions and approaches. While these concepts and approaches dominate the direction of Malaysia, will these concepts and approaches dominate the direction of Malaysian music therapy. Asian clinical psychologists acknowledge the need to be mindful of Western hegemony and individualism in psychotherapy. About the monograph, Asian Culture and Psychotherapy, Implications for East and West, Geoffrey Bartocci writes, "It's a salient fact that the contemporary formal mode of psychotherapy has been derived mainly from the West. The theories for understanding human nature that comprise the foundation of the clinical practice of therapy are based primarily on the clinical experiences and research of Western scholars and clinicians," end quote. Korean psychologist Kwang Il Kim contributed a chapter entitled Culture-Relevant Psychotherapy in Korea. Although tending to polarize the issue into dyads and a dichotomy, Kim does point out that generally Western approaches are inductive and analytic, while Easterners are deductive and value collective consciousness as an essential indicator of the self. So associating with something beyond the individual, the collective, the group, is this something inherent in the Asian paradigm that we're looking at today? Now, whatever position taken along this continuum between the two, it's clear that developing music therapy in Malaysia will benefit from looking locally to Malaysia's cultural diversity for answers to this dilemma. It's not my intention to polarize the issue, but rather highlight the importance of a complementarity of approaches. As Bartocci writes, quote, "Examining Asian experiences and perspectives will enable us to better compare them with those of the West, thereby learning from and complementing each other, leading to a wholesome approach." Let's look at one of our Philippine scholars, Jose Maceda, who has been bridging, if you will, the disciplines of musicology, ethnomusicology, and looking at a Southeast Asian perspective. Philippine scholar and musicologist Jose Maceda wrote that in Southeast Asia, collectivity is, quote, "a wisdom born of people's responses to their environments through cooperative work, social order, and group consensus," end quote. Harvard University music professor Kay Chalamet says, "Community and the collective go hand in hand. Musicians, scholars, and practitioners like us need a framework based on the collective that, quote, seeks to reclaim community as an explicit subject of musical scholarship," end quote. And lastly, enriching the community through the collective has been taken up as the identity of Melbourne-based music therapists Matt and Asami from collectivemusictherapy.com. Now, I just learned about this as I was Googling last night, but I did work at Melbourne University for 2 years in the not-too-recent past, and had the fortune of getting to know some of the great colleagues there at Melbourne University. Now, Matt and Asami are University of Melbourne graduates who were inspired by the choir of hard knocks to make music therapy accessible for all people. Now, this is not unlike, I believe, what Shireen Tay and her colleagues will present tomorrow morning about how a music therapist can extend their relevance beyond treating individuals to enriching the broader community. I want to move to my second point now about collectivity as an extension of belief systems, and individuals being inspired by groups, group activities, and group music making to inspire a sense of confidence and belief in the self. So it might be, in one sense, a ritual belief, and also kind of believing in the self when doubt, despair, and insecurities take over. So collectivity and belief. I turn now to the second theme in my paper, which is collectivity and belief. When an individual joins a group, believing in the collective experience can be extremely transformative for that individual. When a person is alone and faces self-doubt, despair, and depression, the energy generated by the collective activities of the group can instill belief, confidence, and optimism. Music therapists regularly treat clinical depression, anxiety disorders, and other mental health conditions. Anxiety disorders such as social anxiety, panic attacks, and phobia are often referred to as the invisible illness. They're called invisible because people often appear normal on the outside, but are full of despair and disbelief on the inside. Remembering what our Asian clinical psychologists said earlier, we need to look locally at what traditional cultures do and say about mental illness. You see that traditional healing rituals in Southeast Asia also treat the invisible illness of anxiety disorders through music, ritual, and even to avoid terms like music. If you would translate some of these terms, it's more like sounding the body. And instead of avoiding, or using terms like dance, which was mentioned earlier by our colleague from Kelantan, instead of dance, they'll say moving the energy or moving the sound, if you will. And so these are kind of culture-specific terms that help us get a sense of idea of how Malaysian music therapy can localize. In Malaysia, orang asli believe that invoking spirits and singing incantations during Siwang Kebut may heal mental illness. In Thailand, Pifa ceremonies flush out anxiety, fear, and disbelief through the fast-paced, trance-like melodies of the Khan mouth organ. In Bali, Indonesia, bamboo flutes called suling induce meditation and introspection by using circular breathing. Physiological fusion of a musician's breath and sound result in a continuous melodic flow, like the Australian didgeridoo and the Sumatran salawang flute. Musicians do not stop to take a breath. This means that melodies flow in a repetitious, unbroken manner that helps achieve a meditative state and a belief in the ritual. So I thought I'd do a little demonstration. Okay. It's these kind of musical techniques, these musical, melodic, rhythmic aspects that we need to broaden, as Prof. Barbara Wheeler mentioned before. Perhaps music therapy started with Mozart, Bach, Beethoven, folk guitar. But of course, today it expands as it locates in Indonesia, in the Philippines, in Japan. And their language, sound, all of these encoded meanings that we use when, as cultural practitioners, we exchange. It's coming to terms with and getting to know these encoded meanings, sound, and melody, and so on, that really, I think, is part of this development, if you will, of music therapy in Malaysia. So, traditional healing rituals used to treat invisible illnesses like anxiety disorders may seem like superstition and fantasy. How can people believe that running around playing a flute or chanting mantras while surrounded by invisible spirits or ghosts can actually produce measurable and quantifiable therapeutic results? Does this relieve stress or Are people going into trance, or are they just kind of a bit crazy if they're seeing these invisible things? Now, this is quite fascinating because it seems that we are, in our modern, urban, forward-thinking world, well, we wouldn't do things like this. This is crazy. Everything is concrete evidence. It's right there in front of us, and if we see it, well, perhaps we believe in it. If we feel it, maybe we extend a belief that it's actually there. So, for those who see invisible Pokemon creatures, we should remember that the power of the collective can get people believing in almost anything, seen or unseen. This includes running around your neighborhood looking for invisible creatures because Nintendo, as a billion-dollar business, makes you believe they're actually there. Okay, the third and final point I'd like to make about music therapy at the crossroads of culture is that musical structures of many ensembles are built upon the principles of collectivity. Many musical ensembles that music therapists use have melodies and rhythms that are only possible to perform through the collectivity of a group. The Young Choral Academy may at times feature a soloist in its training and performances of its community group. But it's the blending of tone colors and the interdependency between members, soprano, alto, tenor, and bass, that its community groups experience when singing together. The Aswara Community Drum Circle uses simple, accessible, repeating ostinatos to create group cohesion, collaboration, and even to negotiate issues between inner-city troubled youth. I believe there's an organization called Magic who's actually creating their own instruments and getting people to do a similar thing that drum circles do, and that's right here in KL, I believe. Now, although for drum circles, these musical elements can be chaotic at times, and organizing these elements are frustrating, but the collectivity of the musical structures gets people who've never played drums before, a cowbell or a kompang frame drum, to actually keep rhythm, to follow cues and cadences, and even improvise a spontaneous dance to the beat. Now, gamelan orchestras are organized around the principles of reciprocity and mutual dependency. The technique called kotekan is when a melody is shared between two musicians. Interlocking melodies and rhythms in Balinese gamelan gong kebiar require people to work together and to listen closely to each other. Even the size and melodic range of musical instruments in gamelan are named according to gender. For example, male and female pairings of a gong wadon and a gong lana. When the UK-based project Good Vibrations brought gamelan into the Peterborough prison system, it was the musical structures of interlocking melodies and stratified polyphony that helped drug addicts, thieves, and other criminals improve their social skills and increase their participation in other group-based education activities. Now, if you can imagine a moment the sound of a large gong, how would you make that sound? And often in gamelan practice and creating group, often you don't need a gamelan to actually create this kind of cohesion. Can anybody shout out the sound of a gong? What would that sound like? Wow, that was really enthusiastic. Well, in Bali, in Indonesia, where I've spent quite a bit of time, they would say the word "sid." You got to really got to come from your body. "Sid." You try that. Not bad. "Sid." Ah, nice. Now, we also, when we imitate the sounds of gamelan, we might have a melody. So let me just share with you one of the melodies that we use in a chanting form we call kecak. Everybody say kecak. We might have a melody something like this. Siryang, eryang, oryang, aryang. Siryang, eryang, oryang, aryang. Siryang, eryang, oryang, aryang. Siryang, eryang, oryang, aryang. You guys can do that? Let's try. In fact, let's everybody try it, and then we're going to break up into groups. Let's see if this works. Let's have everybody try that. Siryang, eryang, oryang, aryang. Siryang, eryang, oryang, aryang. Siryang, eryang, oryang, aryang. I think everybody's going to sleep. Oh, come on now, you can do better than that. Okay, let's try. We need to break this up into groups here. And often, now I'm breaking the cultural barrier between passive audience and a staged performance. So I'm going to stand right in the middle of you. This is a cultural component, if you will. So I'm feeling gongs right here. So in this quarter right here, everybody look at me. Hello. Wake up. We're going to say, Siu. Good. With the diaphragm. Siu. Not bad. They can do better, right? They're nodding their heads better. Energy now. Everybody sit up straight, please. Straight up, straight. Like I'm talking to my daughter, 6-year-old. Sit up straight. Take a deep breath. And then, shoot. Much better, right? One more time. Shoot. Oh, I like it. Okay, so just in here, let's have you guys sing that melody. Quarter in here. So, they're down here. Shoot. You guys are. Siryang, eryang, oryang, aryang. Siryang, eryang, oryang, aryang. Sit up straight. Siryang, eryang, oryang. A little bit louder, more energy. Keep going. You guys come here. Siryang, eryang, oryang, aryang. Wow. If they're beating you, you guys need to be louder. Very nice. Keep going. You guys thought you were just going to sit back passively in audience. It won't work. I need... Very good. Okay, we can stop right there for a moment. Our last little bit. Thank you, thank you. And over here, you guys, the collective, you're going to say this word. Cha! I think they didn't drink the coffee this morning. Try again. Cha! Just try this one, very simple. Cha, cha, cha! Sit up straight, it's getting better. Sit up straight, take a deep breath. Oxygen, good for the brain. Ready? Cha, cha, cha! You're going to go 7 times. Don't count. Cha, 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 cha. Cha, 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 cha. Cha, 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 cha. Oh. Melody? Siryang, eryang, oryang, aryang. Siryang, eryang, oryang, aryang. Siryang, eryang, oryang, aryang. Siryang, eryang, oryang, aryang. Sing. Oh, 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 oh. Okay, cameraman, you should come and take a picture of everybody now because they're going to look really silly. You're going to put your hands up. Loud. Last one. Hes, yo, si. Thank think you were going to get a workshop, did you? You thought it was a boring paper? Wasn't that exciting? Okay, to sum up, collectivity is a key component of music therapy development. In this paper, I've highlighted collectivity as one of the key components of Malaysian music therapy development. Malaysia's cultural resources are as rich and as diverse as its people. Although many of us are very busy pursuing our individual goals, not having enough time for each other seems unhealthy. Whether symptoms emerge from not having enough time for each other in the form of depression or anxiety, whether attributed to superstition or ritual, the health of a community requires us to collect together, to periodically commune and comfort each other. Music ensembles such as choir, drum circles, and gamelan are readily available as our vehicles to move towards healthier communities. Since we are at the crossroads of cultural development for music therapy, let us use collectivity to drive towards strengthening community through music therapy. Thank you.